It's preparing.
It says it's live.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. All right, so this is the July 16th meeting of the REDCO Board of Directors. It is now streaming live on YouTube, and I will call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. The first item on the agenda for today's meeting is the approval of the minutes from the June 18th meeting. I believe everyone has those minutes in their possession, and I would accept a motion from one of the board members to approve these meeting minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. It's moved by.
Second the motion.
I'm sorry. Okay, there was a motion by Willie.
This is Sergio. I second the motion.
Okay, all right. So I heard Mike and Sergio both second. So we have the meeting minutes approval motion and seconded. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes for the meeting minutes as they were distributed? Okay, hearing none, I would accept a vote now. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, please say nay. Minutes are approved. We have a couple of items on the agenda for today's meeting. One is a loan request. It looks like resolution number 2020-13, a resolution of REDCO to approve a $250,000 loan for East Avenue Dental. Tracy, looks like you're up to discuss that or present it.
Yes, last time we spoke on the board, we needed an approval from M&T that they would allow us to take first position on the loan and not put any collateral on the equipment that will be bought with our loan. They agreed to that. And so the only thing we need now, we got the verbal agreement. We just need board approval, and then city council can write up the papers for them to sign.
Not you mean the board, not city council.
I'm sorry.
I saw Mike look up.
Right,
no,
the board.
No, the board.
Apologies. I'm looking at Mike. I'm looking at Mike's face on the screen here, and I'm thinking city council.
Yeah. Okay, so we did have a pretty thorough discussion on East Avenue Dental at the last meeting, or East Avenue Dentistry, I guess it's officially known as. So with that agreement from M&T that they would not have any position in terms of collateral, I believe that was the only concern that the board had rather at the last meeting. So I would accept a motion to approve the loan to East Avenue Dentistry.
I'll move.
Okay, it's been moved by Willie. I think I had a second from Mike.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Are there any questions about East Avenue Dentistry and resolution number 2020-13? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, please say nay. Okay, that is approved then, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. CEO.
I was on the agenda as well. I thought
Okay. On the agenda for today's meeting?
yes. So I was after you, but Tracy went, and that's fine.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give a quick report of just some of the things we've been working on. But before I even get into that, I want to recognize Evelyn Holmes that's on and Andrea Clafson. They're both business development associates, and I'll give them a couple minutes to say a little bit about themselves. So we'll start with Evelyn.
I'm sorry.
Can't hear you, Evelyn.
Apologize, we're not hearing you. It does not show you being muted, but we're not hearing you. I'm sorry.
I think she may. Maria, did you set them up as a spectator where they couldn't talk? Or do they
Can
have the
you-
same?
No, they're
Can you
panel.
hear me?
I can hear
I
you,
can
yeah.
hear Andrea, yeah.
Okay, come on over here, Evelyn. Evelyn's right next to me. She's coming over.
We are social distancing too, so just want to let everybody know that.
Yeah,
Yes, we are.
we see
good
how long it
afternoon,
takes to
everyone.
get
My
there,
name is-
so.
Let's
Yeah.
let's call it physical distancing. We don't ever want to social distance.
Yes,
Physical, yes, sir.
we're
Yes,
being
sir.
safe. My name is Evelyn Holmes, and I am the bilingual senior business associate, and I am coming from Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I am bringing 13 years of experience in managing teams, focusing on quality controls, looking at data, making recommendations based upon the data that I'm reviewing on best practices. I have had a great opportunity with REDCO. Thank you to Bay and Tracy for your leadership and your vision. And I also bring my bilingual skills with hopes of serving our bilingual community or our Latino community here in Rochester, as well as bringing my MBA skills and supporting REDCO's vision as they embark on this new journey.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Good. Thank you, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Andrea Clausen's here. I come from 20 years at Xerox. 13 of those years were in financial planning and analysis and corporate accounting. From there, I went into a family small business kind of venture, and now I'm looking, or I've gotten back into my own work, and I'm very excited to be part of REDCO. I've always been interested in economic development. And in fact, I tried networking into REDCO last year. So when I saw this opportunity, I jumped on it. And it's just already, I've been here for just 4 days, and it's just been delightful. The staff is so talented and warm and kind, and they have tremendous vision. So I'm just glad to be part of the team. I do have an MBA from Simon, which I think will help me in my work. And I do have small business experience. So Andrea Clausen's, how may I help you?
Thank you, Andrea and Evelyn. Glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
So earlier this week, we had a meeting with the Small Business Administration, the regional office here, also to a local rep from Washington, D.C., and the local office. We're all on a call. The purpose of the call was just to, one, they know about the transition of REDCO, but two, just to find out how we begin to transfer all of the permissions and forms and whatsoever. Right now, all of our SBA portfolio and the management of the loans that are out there it's actually being handled right now by Kareem Palermo, who is, some of you know her, she's the underwriter for business development. So the SBA, we have permission to administer the SBA 504 program. Some of you are aware of that. That gives us, I believe, up to, for an individual business, I believe it's up to $10 million to loan out to an individual business. It is a very challenging process to get the businesses through and approved. When I talked about the 504 program to, DT, also Tracy, when we met, the goal was just to keep pushing forward with that. The reason I'm saying that is because the city/REDCO has not been compliant. Compliant means you need to have at least 2 loans processed within a calendar year. For various reasons, that has not happened in the past few years. We've run into several challenges with that. But Tracy came in and said, look, I want to try to do this. We'll assign somebody to it and they'll become, the SBA guru. So that's the direction we're going in. So with that, we don't need a resolution today, but we will need one tomorrow. It's just something for you to think about. There are processes, and one of the things we have to do is fingerprint everyone who, the staff, and also to anyone that's on the board and the SBA committee. They have files of some people, and I'm really, I was a little taken aback where they didn't have, you know, Dana's name. They didn't have some names that I thought they would have had by now, because we took fingerprints a while ago and sent them there. But that's the requirement. The board has to get fingerprinted if we want to continue this program. The SBA loan committee, which we'll create, which you'll see in the bylaws, has to be fingerprinted. We don't need a decision on that today. I'll follow up with individual email, just something for you to think about. This is the process. I'll also send you, you know, their regulations and anything you need to know about SBA. If I can't answer it, I'll get the answer from our local rep.
So Bea, how are you gonna handle fingerprinting in this age, this age of coronavirus?
Yes, I have no idea. They have some sort of new system now, DT. That's a great question. Prior, when I started for neighborhood and business development, I had to go to police station, took my fingerprints, and then sent it in with a card. When we were talking to Warren, I think his last name is Boyd from Washington, D.C., I'm not sure. They sent us a link. I have not opened it. We just had the meeting another day. So maybe it's some way they're doing it through camera or what. But you're exactly right, and we'll find that out.
I know now sometimes they can do it with taking a picture with a camera and then sending it in to some.
Okay.
Whatever. We'll find out when you let us know.
I will, absolutely. 57 St. Paul, that's the old chamber / SUNY Brockport building, which I spoke about in my business presentation. We essentially have owned that building / not owned the building. It seems like a year and a half ago now, Sergio and Willie was on the board, Keith was at board. Tim remembers this because it haunts him every day. The city had asked REDCO to purchase the building, and then we would sell it back to the city, you know, at a later date after we close. For whatever reason, that sale was not approved by the comptroller. Here we are a year and a half later. We've been notified that we can start the closing process to purchase that building. Right now, just to reiterate, Department of Recreation is in that building. There is a contractor working on the Charles Kell Park. There also is a nonprofit organization that works on after-school programs in the building right now. And Rochester Works, it will be opening some type of youth employment programming there within the coming year. So we don't collect, the only rent we collect on the building right now is from Department of Recreation. Our plan now is to move in that building as soon as possible, just because of our staff size. We're going to move right now in the basement, which some of you know where, it's not the basement, excuse me, first floor, where the Small Business Administration used to be. Yeah, not the basement, because there is a basement there. It needs minimum work. We got to change the carpet, do some wiring, paint, with the goal to move to the third floor. But until we find out how much that will cost, we're going to move right into the offices on the first floor facing the river. We have purchased a customer relations management software through Microsoft Dynamics. So we've been in training this week, the week prior, and the weeks going forward. That will help us with our customer relations flow. One of the things that, you know, some of you, well, Dana knows, that I always complained about as commissioner is not being able to get instant access for a project. And that the mayor will call me, Councilor Patterson will call me, the councilors will call me, Councilor Lightfoot, and ask me about a specific project. It usually took me about 3 or 4 emails to get back. And, you know, it was, or I physically had to go downstairs to get information, whatever that was. This will alleviate that. That is the customer management or project management piece, but there are many more pieces. Data, we log our phones there, just many more pieces to make our work life a lot easier and more efficient to the customer. We are working on a budget now with the treasurer. He's not here. We should have a budget for you to look at in about 2 weeks for the August meeting, but we'll have it way before the August meeting. So we're looking to turn that around probably the next week or two. The revitalization Rochester rollout, I won't get into that many details, but we're looking for that to roll out in August. I'll give you more details on the attendance. I'll make sure that you have the date. We are going to do that live in person in one of the corridors. So just look forward to that information. We have, am I able to share, Maria? I'm sorry, I should have asked you this earlier. I don't see a share button. Oh, yes,
yeah.
I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. Give me 1 second, everyone. Okay. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Not yet. Oh, now it is.
Okay. Yeah. So this is our website. It still needs a lot of work. We didn't get a new logo. We're going to wait till we finish this planning process. Again, we needed to get to the point where we could advertise our meeting minutes to be compliant as far as the authority's budget office. This is the work of Maria and Tracy, but we still have a lot of work to do. There's some fields that don't have information. They say coming soon, but the obligatory information that we need right now, so we're compliant with the authority's budget office, is up and running. The address at redcoroc.com. Okay.
Could I make a suggestion? I don't know if this makes sense or not, Chairman, but I see your social media contacts up there. By REDCO being such a business entity, do you think LinkedIn would be one that may be, germane to the website?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, sir. And then we'll add that as well. Okay. The last thing I had, and he's not here. Let me stop. Can everyone see? This is last week's RBJ. So I try to get closer in. I don't know if anyone recognizes that person right there on the front page, but that is our treasurer, and he just joined us, and I did not plan that. So he's on the cover of the Rochester Business Bureau talking about PPP loans, and I believe ESL, I'm not looking, I'll go off my memory, I think they processed $131 million of PPP loans for our area, which is awesome. So let's give Keith a round of applause for that work, and we're glad to have him as our treasurer.
I didn't make one PPP loan. The team made all of them. So hats off.
Well, you did a lot, Keith, because you had to reschedule some meetings. So you were the motivator to the team. So you played a vital role in that.
Just to make a connection to Rochester, ESL, we're happy to do it. Other banks did step up, but it does show the need for capital in the market, but also, guidance, advice, and a place to go for information. And I think that's an important role that we can play as individuals and in our roles. But I think that's something that it's illustrative of what really does help small businesses, and that REDCO can play a role in just connecting people with information is critical. So I'm excited about the role that we can play. Well, the other thing is, PPP is not anything you ever want to get good at, because you hope to never do it again, because it's an emergency funding source. But
exactly.
Yeah.
I do want to add to one last thing. Because of our relationship with Chicago Trend and my past work with the Urban Land Institute, we are. They have been talking about Rochester, and they are looking to do an economic opportunity panel here. Many of you were familiar with the Rose Fellowship. I was I was a fellow. A lot of the work that's being done on the river right now to focus on Main Street was because of our experience with the Urban Lands Institute. That was a year fellowship between the National League of Cities Urban Land Institute. Tracy and I had a call with one of their vice presidents last week. I have another call tomorrow. They would like to do an economic opportunity panel here. Really, the focus is on challenged communities that we have here in Rochester. They want to focus on, kind of mid-sized cities, not so much larger cities. Rochester was brought up. They asked us, would we want to take part in this? There hasn't been a final decision made yet. We have a call tomorrow, but I told them we'd love to be a part of that. So I will keep everybody posted on that, because if you want to, you definitely will be involved. They do a lot of interviews. They bring experts from other cities to convene in Rochester and take up a challenge and come up with solutions that they're able to offer. And I have found it very beneficial. One, the network that I've been able to commit through peer learning is invaluable. So to be able to pick up the phone, which I have done, to call the Urban Land Institute on any given day or email, they always get right back to you, and they connect you with somebody who's in another city who's going through a challenge just like yours. So that is my report.
Very good, thank you. Bea, that's a great report. It shows a tremendous amount of activity that's been taking place, even in the midst of all of this turmoil with COVID. So thank you so much for moving things along and keeping the organization moving in a positive direction.
Dana,
Yes. Hi, Tom.
Can I ask the CEO a question?
Of course.
I know that each of the last few months, we've had more staff joining us. And I'm just wondering, which is a great thing, but I'm just wondering, what's your rollout of your staffing? Do you see, another few months? How many more are you looking at, et cetera?
Yeah, so for this, that's a good question. For this first year, we're going to submit a budget. The budget will reflect probably the maximum 8 staff members. We're looking to fill the position of marketing, and we're going to combine those 2 for now for development director and then executive assistant. That'll take us to 7. And then we want to take that time just to evaluate our workload, but not making any immediate changes. So the budget will reflect, maximum of 8 staff.
Okay, thank you.
But we want to grow, but that has to come through resources.
Okay, great. I did have just one question, and that was, you mentioned the 57 St. Paul and the fact that we can potentially move into closing. So I know that, as you mentioned, the original goal was for REDCO to buy the building and then to have the city buy it from REDCO. But I'm also conscious of our need to have some kind of revenue stream. And I'm wondering if part of our discussion around the budget would include the potential for keeping that building and renting it to Dries, but also to the other entities that you mentioned to provide a revenue stream. So we don't have to discuss it right now, but I would like to make sure that we don't.
Absolutely. Right now I want to get a meeting scheduled with you and Tim to discuss that. But that is the intention, to discuss what that looks like and bring it back to the board to see really what makes sense. I mean, it's a great location. If you look out the window right now, you have the beginnings of a $50 million project right on the river. Right. St. Paul is going to change. We know that. But so I do want to discuss it with you first, and Tim, and then the board.
Okay, perfect.
Matt just joined us.
Hey, Matt.
Sorry I was late. I had another commitment run over.
We let everybody know.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so thank you. Are there any other questions for the CEO before we move into into Keith's budget discussion?
Just a quick question. Are we going to do, so on the agenda, we have an item here for the fiscal sponsorship for SourceLink Pro. Are we going to be covering that? Because I thought we had some folks who might be leaving.
Oh, okay. I apologize, Mike. I printed out two agendas and they're both the same, but neither one of them have that on there. So I must be dealing with an old agenda here, and that's my
No worries, no worries.
so, okay.
Dana, do you have access to your email that I can send you the agenda right now?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when I look for the agendas, I just search my email for anything that says Maria Oliver on it. And
But the next item on the agenda was Dr. Lomax Campbell. His item was fiscal sponsorship for SourceLink Pro,
yeah.
Walled Garden.
Okay. Yep. Walled garden. Yep.
Go ahead.
Floor is mine?
Yes.
Floor is yours. Yes.
All right. Well, first and foremost, good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be in the room with you again for a few minutes. Last year, I want to say actually probably December 2018, we came to REDCO to ask REDCO to be a receiver of funds for a project that we were working on with the Cities for Financial Empowerment out of New York City. And it was to be a receiver of those funds because they weren't able to give the money directly to a municipality. And you all also received funds on our behalf from JP Morgan Chase to support the Financial Empowerment Centers initiative that CFE Fund partnered with us on. And so in that same spirit, we come back before you. I met with folks from Ralph C. Wilson Foundation and JP Morgan Chase about a month and a half ago, and they wanted to know what our wish lists and big ideas were for continuing the work to build an inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem in Rochester. And we told them that the work that we're doing to launch a program called Nexus I-90, which is going to index 100 to 150 business serving nonprofit institutions across the region. You know, it's a great project, but we want to be able to have better data. As many of you probably know, if you put bad data on top of bad data, you're going to get bad data out. And so we conceptualized this idea of taking a component of the Nexus I-90 project, which is called SourceLink Pro. It's a CRM system. We said we want to build a walled garden. And what that essentially allows is for every organization that has a license to enter client data into the system, they would have the discretion to determine what's kept within the organization and what's shared across the network so that we can more collaboratively work to meet the needs of our entrepreneurs in our area. And so JP Morgan Chase took to that particular project and said that we were approved to submit for $180,000 in grants from them. But of course, they can't give the money directly to a municipality. And so I'm coming before you again to have REDCO serve as that fiscal sponsor to help us bring that project to fruition. And Bea and I talked and agreed to an indirect of 3% for you all to receive as the fiscal sponsor. In the past, we've never paid a fiscal sponsor indirect fee, but I told them going forward, since I understand you all are trying to build the organization and that we're looking to partner long-term, obviously, since we're the city, in the fashion that we are, that 3% makes sense. And so that pans out to be $5,400 to simply receive the funds and pay the developer. And I believe you all received a 3-page proposal with the agenda from Maria.
Yes.
Any questions?
My only question was, what was a walled garden? And you answered it right off the bat, so I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah,
I just
go ahead.
just a quick one. And I don't know if this is, if you know, if JP Morgan Chase or the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation has any reservations about providing a 3% indirect for fiscal sponsorship. I asked just because some funders don't allow those kinds of expenses. So just curious.
Yeah, I had a conversation this past Tuesday morning with my point person, and she was fine with it. I ran it by her in advance.
Yeah, I just want to make, it's not a question, it's more of a comment. I just wanted to appreciate the work that you do in your office, Dr. Lomax, and all of the resources that you continue to provide for the city in your capacity. And I just want to say, keep up the good work, brother.
Thank you, Will.
And I just had one question. So, you know, you mentioned, as we've discussed this SourceLink before, Lomax, you mentioned that it's, you know, a system that provides some customer management services. And then we also heard the CEO mention that they're rolling out a customer management system. Do these things have to link together in any way at any point, or are they just going to be two completely separate entities?
So that's a great question. So SourceLink, the whole suite of entrepreneurial ecosystem solutions, is a resource navigator that's going to list every business serving institution across the 9-county region in one place, so that when we're working with businesses, we can refer them. It's also going to have, it also has, it's not going to have, it already has, a public calendar of events for every one of those organizations, business workshops and trainings. It's going to have a blog. And on the back end, they have SourceLink Pro, which is a CRM system, just like Salesforce and just like the Microsoft product itself. Right. We were given 5 licenses with the subscription over the course of the next 3 years. REDCO will have one of those 5 licenses. Neighborhood and business development will have one of those 5 licenses, and we'll have one of those 5 licenses in community wealth building. So literally the team at REDCO would be able to pull data from both systems or even combine them to do joint reporting. And if there's a will or a need to crosswalk them, I'm sure we can have that conversation as well. But it's literally a economic development based CRM system. That's what it was built for over 16 years ago.
Okay. All right. So we'll all have access to it. The different economic development entities that are part of or related to what we're doing here will all have access to it. But we can then also maintain our own separate CRM or whatever, and to the extent that they have to interconnect, we can do that.
Absolutely. And if this is something that you all, as you work with it, decide that you like it more, you know, you may choose to consolidate down and switch to it, because one of the things that this is going to open up, the sustainability plan for the SourceLink work that we're doing is to transfer the license from the city to REDCO. Ultimately, I've been saying that from day one. And with this walled garden, we'll be able to actually charge a fee for other organizations to subscribe to it so they can use it as their system of record too. And that could be revenue coming to REDCO. So we've talked about that in the past, but we wanted to get a little further in the development of this project before we can really codify how much could you be charging for that, and you know how we can leverage it. So I just think there's more to come on that conversation.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, is there an action that we need to take? It looks like there is resolution 2020-14 to approve funds raised. So
can I just push a little debate on this?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. I'm just trying to make sure I understand. I just want to make sure I understand what the resolution is that we're being asked to consider. So it says approve funds raised for this. So this is accepting funds that are raised, or we're agreeing to raise funds? I'm not quite sure what we're being asked to do.
So I'm asking you all to be the receiver of funds that I raise from foundations and other places that can't give it directly to a municipality, as you have in the past.
We're going to be a fiscal sponsor.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
is that a one-time request or is that an ongoing request? We're just requesting it for this particular instance at this time, or are you asking us to approve this going forward? So as you raise funds, we already accept them and, boom, boom, boom.
So initially, when I was pushing this particular one, it was for this one time, but I would imagine this is the relationship I'd like to maintain with you going forward as a key partner. And so if you all be willing to consider this as an open fiscal sponsor arrangement around the work of building an entrepreneurial ecosystem, it's whatever you'd like to entertain.
All right, fair enough. So let's look at the resolution. What is the resolution actually asking us to do here, ladies and gentlemen? Is it, do we need to modify it in any way well, first of all, what does everybody think about this? Are we in favor? Is this something that folks are in favor of doing, or are there some reservations?
I'm in favor of it. And I'm glad that Dr. Campbell added that we should be paid to have the organization manage the funds, because that is time and effort. And I think it should be ongoing. As you raise money that can't go through the city, we can be the receiver and the person who dispenses the money based on your instructions.
So I'd like to ask if do we, by this action, or will it be some future action, become the fiduciary agent? Do we have full responsibility? I mean, that's what what are we signing on for? Not necessarily the money and things like that, but the legal aspect of it.
Well, you are taking on that responsibility. When the money comes in, it will be pursuant to specific instructions, like a restricted endowment, like a university would get, and you will be obliged to follow those instructions as to how those money. So we're going to have to set up segregated accounts with different sets of instructions in each one of the accounts. So it's a complicated process, but they will be in effect, restricted funds. They won't go into your general account. You can't use them for other purposes.
And with respect to REDCO, Bea, you're okay with going in this direction? You support this, I assume?
We have a similar relationship with the Rochester Joint School Construction Board. Right now, that money, it was in my presentation, the money is still with the city, but this program is designed, the Rochester Joint School Construction Program is designed to help subcontractors who are working. Primarily, we have seen that they're women and minority businesses. So we've been doing this for, I want to say, going on 3 years now, where if a company needed a loan to cover payroll because the GC didn't pay them, on time or whatever happened, that we administer the check and then they pay it back, and we charge a 1% fee for that. We just recently met with the Joint School Construction Board. They want to continue the relationship with us. So they passed a resolution the other day, and we have to go through whatever process there is to go through. Similar relationship, and is already with the Office of Community Wealth Building. They raised, Lomax and his team, Dr. Campbell and his team raised some money to start SourceLink. And some of that funding, because it was come from Chase Bank, they wanted to make sure that a separate entity received the money and was able to pay. So we've had that relationship in the past. Not usually, what I will say is when we receive funds, that will be reported out to the board.
I think the other thing that I'm wondering about is as this morphs or moves over time fully into REDCO, and that's the longer range plan here. We have the whole program is focused not on the city of Rochester necessarily, but on the 9-county region that we're in. To what degree, given our responsibilities and our mission, are we prepared to take on a regional responsibility like this.
Well, we're not right now. So,
No,
yeah, so we're still in discussion with Dr. Campbell's office. We don't have a final decision on that yet.
And my understanding is that the Office of Community Wealth Building services Rochester, but resources that those entrepreneurs in Rochester need may be outside of Rochester. And so that's the purpose of the entrepreneurial ecosystem building that OCWB is doing, is to make available and known all of the resources that could possibly or potentially be used by Rochester entrepreneurs. So it's not that because we're building the entrepreneurial ecosystem that's servicing businesses outside of Rochester, it's servicing businesses in Rochester. Does that answer your question, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, and we don't have to go on with it. We'll deal with this later as this morphs, evolves. But I'm just wondering if a small business in Penn Yan and Yates County comes to REDCO or any other in Batavia and so on, says, "Oh, you have this money. I need some really help."
Yeah, no, we're
get into that at all.
We're servicing Rochester businesses,
Yeah,
not businesses
okay.
outside of Rochester.
That answers.
That's right. And if I can pick up on
And that's what
this,
OCWB does.
yeah, if I can pick on this real quick, as many of you probably know, economies aren't restricted to a neighborhood, right? Generally, small businesses in Rochester have supply chains that are bigger than Rochester. And so you take a restaurant, they may go to Henrietta to get inputs from the restaurant depot. That's very much a part of their supply chain and important for them to know about. And so similarly, there's services beyond Rochester that businesses in Rochester need to know about, which is why we looked at a regional supply chain or ecosystem instead of a local one. But also on the Resource Navigator, all of the organizations listed can specify their niche or their scope of service. And so REDCO is no different. In this context, REDCO will be one of the many listings in the system, and they can specify that it serves Rochester, city of Rochester.
Thank you.
Pat, Keith, Sergio, Willie, comments, concerns, questions?
No, I'm in favor. I think it's consistent what we have been doing right along, and I'm totally in favor of this.
No, I agree.
So what we're looking at is a one-time investment of somewhere in the range of $195,000, and then an ongoing arrangement of about $300,000 a year to cover the 5 community navigators. And it says that we are looking at an investment from JP Morgan Chase. Is that firm? I mean, are we anticipating that, or are we just asking for that?
Dan, are you talking about the 300,000 that you see there?
43,000 from JP Morgan, right?
So that was the proposal that led them to send an email back and say, we want to pay the 180 now for just the walled garden. They want to have a separate conversation about raising the funds for the community navigators. And there's the potential that they may fund the whole thing.
Okay, so right now we're talking about the 180,000 to get the source link up and running. That's the piece that we would end up being the fiscal sponsor for.
I think the resolution was changed in this very conversation to just generally be the fiscal sponsor.
Right. Okay. And to the point
I want to make sure. That's what I want to make sure I'm clear on, is that that there is the very specific ask of the board is that to be the fiscal sponsor, the financial sponsor, not contribute to the wall garden. That might be a separate conversation, but the resolution is
Correct.
to just be that conduit, pass on collect a cost of 3%, and then but that's what this is limited to. And again, like Sergio said, this is consistent with what we've done in the past. I think down the road, a conversation around do we want to know the merits of the underlying programs underneath of which will be the fiscal sponsor of. I think we just want to make sure we this one feels like it fits every category we should be engaged with, but just making sure we're clear as to what our role might be if it's not as clear next time. If we, who the recipient of the ultimate, who the funds are.
That should probably be a separate resolution when that time comes. In regard to this resolution, I think it needs to be reworded because the way it's worded now is not clear, and it really doesn't address what you asked for.
So I would submit, or I would recommend, though I am absolutely in favor of doing what you asked, Dr. Campbell, I think that as an organization, we need to write a clear resolution on what we are agreeing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're set or ready to do that at this time. I don't think we should rewrite this resolution on the fly right now. So I think we should hold this item for our next meeting with the understanding that when we go, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Yep, just the caveat, it's time sensitive.
Okay.
So if it's prudent to approve
We can
the
rewrite it now.
resolution
I mean, it doesn't take
Okay.
it's not, Michael, it's not difficult to rewrite that resolution.
No, it's not.
Right
It's
now.
just, you try not to do that, but oh yeah, we can rewrite it now. We can write it on the fly.
But can we rewrite it with a little more thought instead of on this phone call and then do an email vote or something? I would be more comfortable with that.
Okay.
I don't have much to offer on what the resolution should say. I think if we designate one or two people that know what this should look like, and Councilman Patterson, if I would be, but I'm one voice. I could get comfortable just.
Hey, if it's time sensitive,
It's a great idea.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, my whole thing is I just want to be clear so that as folks are looking at this later, they'll understand exactly what it is that we approved, what we agreed to do,
Right.
what our responsibilities are to the Office of Community Wealth Building, and that the fact that we are just going to accept these dollars on your behalf. We're going to set up a separate account for that purpose. And in exchange for accepting these dollars and holding them on your behalf, we're going to get a 3% administrative fee.
Okay, so Councilmember Patterson, can I ask you to take a lead with our CEO and with Dr. Campbell to formalize that wording and circulate it back to the board so that we can take an email vote?
Yeah. Was that pretty much it in a nutshell?
I think that was pretty much it. Yeah. So
okay, it's written.
Just a caveat, I have to submit by end of day tomorrow.
Oh,
Okay, so
I was going to ask that. Okay, so let's do it and we'll get a vote tomorrow.
Okay.
Today, later in the evening or whatever.
And I just have one question for Tim and possibly Bea and Maria, which relates to that separate account. Does that have to be an actual separate bank account, or can it just be a separate accounting within our financial structure? I just want to know if there's a prohibition against having the money commingled with other funds, and it has to be an actual, you'd have to go back to Five Star Bank and set up another entire account just for this.
Yeah, if I can get a look at the documentation they sent, I can tell you all, it probably can be set up as a sub account within your existing accounts. It's just got to be segregated, but not physically segregated, but segregated on your books. So Bea's analogy to the Joint School Construction Board is a good one.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I know we do this, like we took in a grant for Doreen Kirkmeyer a couple of months ago, and we did do some other stuff with Lomax's group. It is in the same bank account, but on my books, they are all separate.
Okay, all right, perfect.
And the question is, do our bylaws actually our current bylaws actually allow us to vote outside of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
the bylaws that we're passing, I think the current ones do as well. I'll double check and get back to you.
All right.
I believe if it's unanimous.
Okay. And so we've got a quorum of members to hold a meeting. So if everyone, is there anyone who is opposed to doing this while we got everybody here? Tom, you good? Okay. Matt's good. Everybody's good. Okay, so we'll get that. We'll get that written up and out to everybody today, and I guess then the request is that we all reply to it with a yes or a no, so that we can
Right.
move forward and give Dr. Campbell the information that he needs to move forward.
Okay. Yeah, so
Thank you all.
please look for that in your email. I realize today's Thursday, so, some people are already into the weekend, but, please look for that in your email and, just a simple I approve would be sufficient. Make sure that those all, would you like those all sent back to you, Maria, or who? Or are they're gonna come from, where are they gonna come from? Are they gonna come from you, Mike, or?
No, I think they should come out of Baya.
Okay, all right. So that will come from Baya, so then respond to Baya with either I approve or I don't approve, but we would appreciate that quickly. Thank you. Okay, great. That gets us to, I believe, our last three items. Keith with financials, followed by an update on the bylaws from DT, and then an update on the strategic plan from Tom. So, Keith, you want to?
Oh, Dana, I do think we have Eastside Dentistry that needs to be approved.
We actually did approve that, right?
Yeah, before you joined, Keith.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was that's.
Sorry. Yeah, we approved that earlier, but thanks for bringing it up.
Oh, well, sorry. Well, not really, but I think you're welcome. So, on the financials, we've made progress, probably not as much as it might sound like, but Bea, Maria, and I have continued to work through the initial thoughts on the budget. What we expect to have for next meeting is a detailed budget with a glossary. I have asked for a glossary of our funding sources and some of the expenses and all the assumptions. I think that will be helpful to all of us, in particular, newer board members, as to where the funding is coming from and the expenses there. As in any budget, right now it's an approximate $1.9 million budget, with most of those expenses coming from salaries. We're going to be looking at some categorization of some of the line items, but I think we'll be in a much better position to report the budget and the initial results at next month's meeting.
Okay. Any questions for our treasurer before we move on to the bylaws? Okay. Dr. Ogilvy, how are you prepared to talk to us about the bylaws?
Yeah, so I sent around to everybody. I don't think everybody's had a chance to look at them yet, but the proposed changes to the bylaws, I gave you both a clean copy of what the final bylaws would look like, a marked up copy, and just changes on a separate document. So you have 3 documents. I would like everybody to go through those and then give us, the committee, any feedback if you see any issues that need to be raised. The one section that does need some input from Keith is the responsibilities of the treasurer. I kind of have a laundry list there, and he may feel it's a little bit too much. But that's the only changes that we foresee from the committee.
Yeah, we can connect. I'll send you what. Yeah, I negotiated a shorter list but when Bay and I had our conversation, I say that jokingly, but I think
Very
we
short
can,
list.
not quite as, not real short, but yeah, we'll blend that in.
Okay,
but,
that would be helpful. And then I will prepare those in the format. Once I get the feedback, if there are any issues that need to be clarified or worked on, then I will propose a set of resolutions. And I can either do them all at once, or we can do them separately. So I await the pleasure of the board to direct me on that how to propose those.
Dana?
Tom, go ahead.
Just to want to support DT here. She's done a great job, and it's a thankless task, I'll tell you, putting bylaws together for any organization, especially this one, because we had to meld two things together here. DT, I just respectfully propose that we get a deadline for everybody
Thank
to
you. Yeah.
read and get back. And if we don't hear from you by a certain date, it means you approve until we take the vote.
Great idea. How much time do you think we need?
Till tomorrow.
Okay. How about Monday?
Monday is the 20th.
20th. Monday, COB?
And I'd suggest also that you or somebody send out a note to the whole board.
Right, I think Dana should.
Yeah, okay.
Board, giving them asking them to read them, comment by COB Monday.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
we'll do that.
Thanks,
you.
Tom. I must say that we had a very good committee. It was a pleasure to work with Tom and Howie and Sharon. They were very good at catching things, making sure that things were clear, they made sense. So kudos
All right.
to you guys.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's often thankless work trying to wordsmith and claw your way through multiple levels of bylaws, but thank you for that. And equally thankless sometimes is the strategic plan. So, Tom, you want to talk to us about that?
We haven't gotten to the wordsmithing yet, but we're almost there. The second draft of the plan is now in committee. We're having a committee meeting next Tuesday. It's been a strange process because usually when I work with organizations doing strategic plans, we're all together in a room and we go through that kind of a process together. This way, as you know, I'm writing and then people get back to me and then we have a meeting and then we go. So we'll be going, it's pretty much done except for going page by page and starting in on what needs to change and what needs to be added and so on and so forth. So Tuesday we'll have that done. Depending, then we'll go into a draft 3, look at it again. By that time, I think we'll be ready to, with Dana, we'll talk about how do we roll this out to the board for a fuller discussion as well as staff. I think staff needs to look at this and as well as, although Bay is on the committee, but I think good to have a staff review and discussion as well as the whole board. So
yeah, they were in the last meeting we had, so they'll be in this meeting as well.
Okay, I think that's it. I'm still hoping that a few months ago Dana said, when do you think we might have something like this? This is before we did it, and I said, well, maybe by the end of August, and I'm hoping we can still do that and have the board adopt it maybe.
So a reasonable target. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that update, Tom. Are there any other items that need to come before the board at this time?
I just want to get clear. Who's writing the resolution for Lomax? Is Lomax Dr. Campbell's item? Was
Michael.
that Council Patterson? Okay.
Member Patterson is writing.
What was that?
I said I'm doing it as we speak.
Okay. Okay.
So he's writing it. He's going to send it to you. You're going to send it to us.
Yeah.
The reply.
Well, I got a pretty, so it looks like, so just to confirm again, so folks are going to be reviewing it before we send it out to everybody. Obviously Dana, Willie, Bea, Tim, and Dr. Campbell. Sound about right?
I didn't understand your reading. What list was that you were just reading?
Mike is asking that a smaller group review what he's written before it goes to the full board.
Yeah. So I'm sending that out to those folks. Everybody gives it a look. Make sure it makes sense and it's legal and all that good fun stuff. And then we can get it turned around pretty quick.
Okay, that works for me. Tim, are you available for the next couple hours or?
What was that?
Tim Curtin, I just want to make sure Tim Curtin, because he's the.
I don't think he heard you.
His
I'm sorry,
schedule is
Dana?
tight. I just want to make sure you're going to be around for another hour or two so that you can just take a quick look at what Mike is going to send.
Yeah, I got nowhere to go.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, as long as Tim can review it, then
I have a
we-
city council meeting at 4.
I know.
Yeah, well, we all know that, don't we?
Yeah, well, and Mike and Willie will be there, so. Okay, very good. Is there anything else that the board needs to discuss at this point? Okay, seeing nothing, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
The move.
And there's a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your attendance.
Thank
and
you.
participation. This is a very good meeting. And we're making great progress. Thank you so much, Mr. CEO and your staff.